Okay, if you haven't seen Rob Cesternino's phone interview with Hallie, I highly recommend you see that interview, yeah. It explains a lot about this episode that it didn't show, and about bits early in the season, okay? So this is a nice episode, but I don't know if I really have too much to say because a lot of what I'm going to say are really just progressions on everyone's story arcs and little bits of issues with the edit being different with reality, I think. Yeah, we'll see. So, everyone gets back from Tribal, and Ronnie does the outbursts like we expected, but turns out he doesn't really do anything except try and reconfirm with Will that one, Will switched his vote, and two, that the foursome between him, Will, Carolyn, and Tyler is still strong, and Will shows him that it is, so yeah, he's definitely gone from the no collars, even though it's not going to help him at all, although he could potentially get farther, but still, Will has no shot of winning this game. Let's be realistic here. But to be honest, unlike most people, I don't think he had a shot to begin with. Right, and then other bits that Ronnie was doing, I got nothing to mention on that, really. Then the reward challenge, well, it just seemed like everybody thought that Joe was going to win, and turns out he did. And then he makes the smart move of taking all the swing votes with him on the reward. Pretty nice strategy, dude, even though they didn't show that much game talk going on that reward, although there was plenty of talk about the idol clue after the reward, and that was pretty funny how he's trying to gulp it down, but Tyler was watching going, Nice, so, Joe showing the clue to Tyler, well, he kind of had to, because Tyler would have told somebody, and, even if Tyler hadn't told anyone, he just would have done exactly what Mike was doing, okay? Yeah. So then we get that whole shenanigan about Mike trying to trick everyone into believing that Joe has the idol, and I didn't realize this until Mike actually found the idol, but what he did was actually pretty brilliant because it put Joe in an even more increasing position to where he pretty much had to put himself in a stance on whether or not he had the idol or not, because if he had told Mike, nah, I don't have it, everybody would have believed him. But since he went along with Mike, he kind of has to zip it and go, yeah, I have the idol for the next little while now. This enabled everybody to keep a better eye on him, whereas Mike was able to sneak away and then find the idol for himself. Brilliant, man, yeah. That was pretty good. And as it turns out, all that's left in terms of immunity idols is Carolyn's white collar idol, and then the idol that was at the blue collar camp the whole time. At least that's what this episode wants us to believe. So yeah, it does kind of make sense that they wouldn't hide a new one, but you know, just when it's free tribes, it's so tricky to figure out what the right practice is to do with the idols, yeah. Okay. So, fast forward to the immunity challenge, I was really hoping that Joe wouldn't carry it because I felt like that would have made the tribal an epic duel between him and Mike, and one of the figureheads of these alliances would have gone home, but as it turns out, Hallie told Rob Cesternino that Jen was so pissed at Joe for not taking her on the reward that she and Hallie would have joined pretty much everybody else in trying to get rid of Joe. So, yeah, Joe really was in a Penner position, or was it Troyzan position? I don't know if there's really an official term for it. But he ended up managing to win, so yeah, congrats, bro, even though I was disappointed by that because you would have gone, yeah. So then everybody is trying to figure out plan B for that stuff. The No Collar Girls come up with the very interesting idea of blindsiding Dan to shake Mike's position, and I personally thought that would be a nice idea because it would put Mike in the same position as Joe, although I only really figured this out after hearing Hallie's interview. Or the Dominant Alliance could stick together and get rid of one of the people that I didn't really want to see get which was Hallie. And then we have that weird bit where it was talked about Sierra potentially leaving the blue-collar people and going with the women. But the problem was, they put that little bit just before Tribal Council, so it just didn't make any sense. Why would you do that just before Tribal? And even then, it didn't carry like any energy with it. So I was like, I don't think that this has much potential, to be honest. Now, Tyler flipping, I actually did see that because he's demonstrated that he's an aware fellow. Because had Joe gone in the idol, we probably would have heard a lot more from Tyler in this episode. And Tyler is somewhat thinking ahead and recognizing that eventually problems are going to have to occur in the Dominant Alliance, most likely before the Dominant Alliance gets rid of everybody. I mean, like, for crying out loud, in the first Blood vs. Water, we had like a 7 or 8 person alliance that Tyson was in charge of, and after getting rid of 3 of the 4 people that were in the minority, they started turning on each other, and then there ended up being different alliances forming and all that stuff. There's no way that the 7 dominant people are going to be able to wipe out everybody. Now, I can see them staying together next week, but after that, I don't think so, to be honest. Why? It's just a gut feeling, and my honest reaction is, if it's 7 vs. 3, you really should reduce it down to 2 people, just because that'll make them a lot more scrambling, and at that point, naturally, everybody will start thinking, what is the next step, you know? Okay. So then at Tribal Council, everybody keeps putting up the same face that they've been for the rest of the episode, but in the end, nobody flips and Hallie goes, which I was happy about, because, like, she isn't as outspoken as Dan, so we lost a more minor person, and it's interesting that we've only lost more minor people in this merge, because Kelly was the least outspoken of the blue collars, and Hallie was the least outspoken of the remaining no collars, so that's pretty interesting. And since I didn't mention this before, I'm glad now that Joe finally is getting more of a purpose again, even though it really is just to stay alive, but this show has produced several great fights to stay alive, so yeah, at least now he's finally got a purpose again, and a storyline that we can follow and see what happens. And I can't remember if I mentioned this at the start of the video, I feel like I finally get where I stand with the blue-collar guys now. Rodney, he's just going to keep doing all these outbursts, has no shot of winning this, although it'll be interesting to see if he causes any more shenanigans or ends up being the victim later on in the game. And then Mike, as I mentioned, he's got a nice brain, and with that idol, he has a lot of power behind him, and like I said, if he gets through this episode, he has a great potential to keep on going, and yeah, I don't foresee any problems for him for a boot or 2, and then it'll start coming up again. And then as for Dan, I'm a little less certain on him. I don't think he has a shot, but he is going to matter down the line, his vote, I feel. Whether or not he'll be influencing people or he'll be the one influenced, I'm not sure, but I feel like he's going to matter, so yeah, no more qualms about anybody's purpose being hidden anymore. I'm glad to finally be in that position. So then as for next week, my prediction is no one's going to flip. I just feel like it's too early for that, but if they flip, then they flip. It'll be interesting to see that now. And then as for the possibility of Jen quitting, I really hope that that doesn't happen. One, because I really want the trend of people getting pulled or quitting to stop, and you seriously contemplating quitting just because your closest friend leaves? For crying out loud, you've had a great position this whole game, Jen, and you're under far less stress than heck Julie was last season. At least that's my wages, so just why are you complaining? Sheesh. It's not over yet, and you're just gonna just throw it in? Come on. Given how outspoken and how willing to play these people are, we can't really count anyone out. Like in Kangaya, we couldn't count really anyone out there, even though you can argue Jeremiah and Jeffra a whole lot there, yeah. Not much else to mention, I think, so I'm gonna let you go.